Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Padyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Asmadgurubhyo Namaha. श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विना वधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। ओम पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्धदामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्र रुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्ख्यपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थितदद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Om. Namaste once again, everyone.
Namaste, Guruji. Pranam.
Pranam.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste. So today,
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste. As announced, I would like to give you a summary of the second chapter, which we completed in the last class. As you all know, this second chapter is a very, very involved chapter. And it was really a little bit difficult for me what points to include and what not to include. So anyhow, I have made certain notes on the basis of which I will summarize the whole chapter. But in the process, if it is going to take me a few more minutes than our scheduled class time, please bear with me. Okay. So the second chapter can be broadly divided into 4 sections or 4 parts. The first part is from verse number 1 to 10, which is the Arjuna Sharanagati part. This is where Arjuna surrenders. Then the second part is from verse 11 to 38, which is the Jnana Yoga part, or what is called Sankhya Yoga part. Then comes the third part, verse 39 to 53, which can be termed as Karma Yoga. And finally, from verse 54 to 72, that is the end of the chapter, can be called the Sthita Prajna or Sthira Prajna portion. These are the 4 ways we can divide this chapter. So, Arjuna Sharanagati, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Sthira Prajna. These are the 4 parts for this chapter. Now, briefly, we will see each of the topics, what we have already discussed. And for the first part, understanding the Arjuna Sharanagati part, we need to remember what Arjuna's words were towards the end of the first chapter. In fact, the first 2 slokas of the second chapter is more of an extension or a continuity of the first chapter. And in the first chapter, we saw that Arjuna discovered the problem of samsara, and that too in the oddest place, the battlefield. And we saw what the problem of samsara was. It was nothing but the problem of raga, shoka, and moha. Raga, as I said, was a problem of attachment. And that is not just Arjuna's problem. This is a general human problem across all caste, creed, race, nationalities. Attachment is the normal problem of all human beings. Even though the object of attachment, may vary from individual to individual. For somebody, it could be another human being. For somebody, it could be some real estate properties. For somebody, it should be some vehicles. This way, the object may vary, but attachment as such is a universal problem. And this is the fundamental human problem also. There is somebody unmuted. Let me mute all of you. So this, as I said, this is the fundamental human problem also. And Arjuna discovers this problem with its full intensity in the first chapter. Kripaya paraya vishtaha. Vyasacharya uses the word kripa. Kripa here means attachment. We saw all this in detail. And once a person has this attachment, then there is a natural consequence called sorrow, which is called vishada or grief. And the grief comes because of two reasons. When I am attached to something, I never want to lose that specific thing. I want that specific thing or person to be eternally with me. Intellectually, I know that it is against the law of creation. But I forget that universal law, and I want that object of attachment to be with me always. I never want to lose that object. And once I try to hold on to that object, any type of loss of that object, whether actual or even imaginary loss of that object, I am not able to withstand. In the case of Arjuna, it was actually the imaginary problem. He goes through this problem of sorrow because he is intensely attached to Bhishma and Drona. And even though at this point he has not lost them, but he visualizes that the consequence of this war would be the death of these people, and he continuing to survive without these people. It's purely at this point in time an imaginary problem. Arjuna's grief is born out of imaginary loss. And the funny part is he is so much deluded that he does not even think for a moment that in the war, actually Bhishma and Drona could survive and it is he who could be killed. It doesn't occur to him at all. He takes it for granted that Bhishma and Drona are going to be killed. This is what happens in attachment, Many times we also experience similar thing. So this is the second problem of attachment or raga leading to shoka, the sorrow or grief. Then the third problem is once the mind is under the grip of raga and shoka, it loses its capacity to judge things properly. It loses its capacity to discriminate between the right and the wrong, what is dharma and what is adharma. And this deluded thinking, this loss of capacity is called moha or dharma adharma aviveka. This is the essential human conflict. Incapacity to decide what is the right course of action. And therefore, the third problem of samsara is moha or conflict or deluded thinking. So this raga, shoka, moha, which is otherwise called samsara, Arjuna intensely faces that in the first chapter. And not only he faces or discovers this problem, he also tries to solve the problem by himself. He thinks that he knows the solution to this problem. And therefore, he gives a very big lecture to Lord Krishna. He says, it's not proper to fight this war. They're all swajana, my own people. And fighting them and killing them is adharma. And therefore, Arjuna tries to run away from the battlefield. Krishna, of course, being the supreme teacher, the Jagat Guru, keeps quiet because he feels if Arjuna is going to solve the problem himself, why should I poke my nose into his affairs? So, this is how the first chapter ends. Arjuna discovers the problem, tries to solve the problem by himself, and stricken with grief and sorrow, with this, the first chapter ends. He sits down on the chariot, on the floor of the chariot, throws away his bow and arrow, and he is totally grief-stricken. And in the second chapter, we get the continuity. In the beginning of the second chapter, we find that having discovered and trying to solve the problem himself, Arjuna discovers helplessness, which in Sanskrit is called Karpanya dosha. And there is only one solution to this helplessness. When we find ourselves totally helpless in certain situations, we have to surrender to somebody, seek help. Otherwise, our current situation may worsen further. Therefore, unless we discover the helplessness, we will never surrender to the Lord. And this surrender should be real surrender. Handing over the reins of our life to the Lord and not merely verbal surrender. Where many people are very, very good in talk, I've done Sharanagati and all that without meaning even knowing the meaning of Sharanagati. So Dayananda Saraswati says, people do Aarti every day. No? And they will sing, Tan man dhan sab kuch tera. You go to any of the North Indian temples, it's the standard Aarti. Tan man dhan sab kuch tera. I surrender my body, my wealth, everything to you because everything belongs to you. But is that real surrender? It's all mechanical, verbal surrender. It is never real surrender. Because the next day, again he repeats it another time. Once yesterday you have already surrendered, tan man dhan sab kuch tera. Where is the question of second time surrendering? So every day you keep on surrendering. So what is it? There is no real surrender. It is only a sort of lip service you pay. God may be wondering, how many bodies you have got to surrender? Yesterday only you gave the body, your wealth, everything. And so God, poor Lord, tries to find out what is the offering next day. And he finds the same tan, man, dhan, sab kuch tera business. In fact, many times I wonder, suppose you go to your neighbor's house, he got some flower, and you go and want to take a flower. And you ask the neighbor, can I take a flower? He will say, no, 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 no. This belongs to mine. That time you think, this fellow also must be singing, everything is yours to Lord. So how can he claim that it is mine? So once we surrender verbally, but we never really surrender because ahankara, mamakara continues throughout. That is not the kind of surrender which Arjuna did. So real surrender takes place only once, because in that surrender, the surrenderer himself is gone. No more there to surrender again the next day. So Arjuna discovers the helplessness and really surrenders, because when surrender follows the discovery of helplessness, then and then alone it becomes true surrender. So having discovered the problem of karpanyam or helplessness and unable to find a solution himself, Arjuna, like a drowning person looking for a straw to hold on, finds himself lucky because he has what? Partaya pratibodhitam bhagavata dharayanena swayam. He has got the Lord Narayana himself right present there itself to guide him. And therefore, Arjuna immediately surrenders to the Lord Krishna. And the key words in this portion, it's a very important sloka from Sharanagati point of view. Karpanya doshopahata swabhava hai, prichami tvam dharma sammudha cheta hai, yachreyasyam nishchitam bruhitan me, shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. I am your Shishya, I have now become surrendered to you. I am your disciple. Please teach me. Tvam prapannam, I surrender to you. I am surrendering at your feet. And surrendering means what? Arjuna is indicating that I have discarded all my notions and the so-called solutions I was trying to to come up with for my helplessness. I now have an open mind to receive your guidance and wisdom. So the primary sign of a disciple is an open mind, bereft of all false notions, prejudices, all kinds of philosophies learned from reading numerous books, listening to various talks, and having a mind which is ever ready to receive guidance. This is the most important characteristic of a student. Real surrender means this. So Arjuna keeps aside all of them. He says, Shishyaste aham, I am your student. Just imagine, Arjuna entered the battlefield as a Yajamana and Krishna as the charioteer. But now there is a complete reversal of the roles. Yajamana is converted into a Shishya, and the moment Arjuna becomes a disciple, Krishna, who is a driver, an ordinary driver, gets converted into Parthasarathi, gets converted into Gitopatesha Karta, Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishna becomes Jagadguru through Arjuna. He gives us the Gita teaching to the entire world, not only for that particular period, but the Gita teaching he gives out is valid for the entire eternity. All future times to come. If somebody wants to be happy in life, then the manual for that happiness is available, written by Narayanena Swayam. So here are a couple of messages for all of us. When we really face helpless situations in life, the only way out is to surrender to the Lord and follow His teachings. Surrender means what? Surrender is not like the Bangladesh war, the Pakistan army surrendering to Indian army. That is not surrender. In spiritual terms, surrender means I surrender to a guru and I pledge to follow his teachings. Because for us, it is the guru who brings the Lord's teachings to us. Therefore, we need to surrender to the guru or a jnani. Because as long as I have a closed mind, I don't want to learn, even the greatest jnani cannot help me. The moment I open my mind and approach a guru with humility, tatvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. When I approach a guru with the attitude of service, with the attitude of surrender, with an attitude of humility, and all this is indicated when you meet a guru, do a Sashtanga Namaskara. Sashtanga Namaskara to a guru indicates I surrender to you in all aspects of what is meant by real surrender. An arrogant intellect will find it extremely difficult to do a Namaskara. After all, who is he? He's also a human being. Why should I do a Namaskara to him? This is the question many people will have in their mind. In the case of Arjuna also, to begin with, being a Kshatriya, Dhananjaya, etc., he showed arrogance. He thought he knew more about Dharma than Lord Krishna himself. Isn't it? He gave a lecture to Lord Krishna. What is Dharma, Kulastri, all will become, there will be Varna Sankaraha, this, that, and all. In the first chapter, big lecture. Without realizing that the Dharma, the Adhishthanam of Dharma is right in front of him, and he is trying to teach Lord Krishna Dharma. That shows arrogance. But in the beginning of the second chapter, Arjuna surrenders. So between the first verse and the 10th verse of the second chapter, we find Arjuna getting converted into a disciple. And from the 11th verse of the Gita, the actual Shastra, the actual teaching takes place. And we can say that the first 10 verses is Upodghata Prakaranam, only an introduction for the teaching to take place. The actual Shastra begins from the 11th verse. So this much is the essence of Arjuna Sharanagati, for first portion. So verses 11 to 38, as I said, form the second portion of this chapter. And the central or the main theme of this portion is Jnana Yoga, otherwise also called Sankhya Yoga. Both are synonymous in this context. Actually, it is based on these verses, which are basically the foundation of the entire Bhagavad Gita, that this chapter is named Sankhya Yoga. Even though Bhagavan talks about Karma Yoga and other topics, The chapter, the most important aspect of this chapter is the Jnana Yoga part. And this portion, this teaching which is there in this 11 to 38 verses, we must very thoroughly remember it throughout our study of the Gita. As I said earlier also, this is the foundation stone upon which all other chapters are developed. And this portion, even though I say 11 to 38, actually 11 to 25 is the most important, as it presents the essence of the Upanishads. And in this portion, Krishna discusses the essential nature of every individual. What is Jiva Swarupam? Who am I in reality? And Krishna has to talk about that because, unfortunately, we do not have a very clear idea about what we are, whom we are. We have no clear idea about ourselves. All of us want to be happy, and we think that by spending all our life studying physics, chemistry, economics, dance, music, we will be happy. Or by acquiring so many things, we will be happy. Or having so and so in our presence, we will be happy. Still, despite all our efforts throughout our life, permanent happiness eludes us. We do research about everything except our own selves, because we have a false notion that we know everything, we know who we are. Krishna points out, my dear, that is a very false notion that you have. He dispels that notion and therefore tells Arjuna, whether you know what you are. And the essence of Krishna's teaching in these verses, I have just summarized point by point. An individual, which is denoted by I, is not the physical body nor the mind with which I transact with the world. The first point. Thinking that I am the physical body, that I am the mind, is the biggest misconception we are born with. Krishna dispels this false notion in the sloka, Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya. This body, this mind, sense complex, we will keep on changing. I will remain the same, but these things will change, so these cannot be I. The body is only a temporary dress that you make use of, which you will discard at the time of death. And if you have got any doubt with regard to that fact of the statement, you study your own sleep state. In the state of deep sleep, you are never transacting through your physical body, but still you are existent as a being. When I wake up, I use this body. When I go to sleep, I keep my physical body aside, as it were. And not only the physical body is kept aside during sleep, even the mind is not operational during sleep. So therefore, as Swami Paratha says, the body and mind are like two goggles, two glasses of the spectacles I use for transactions. Before going to bed, I remove these two and then go to sleep. It is used and removed. So the body and mind are only the media of transaction. We are not the body and mind. Now the next question will be, if I am not the body and mind, then who am I? Krishna reveals that you are the consciousness principle. Chit Rupaha Tvam, Chaitana Rupaha Tvam, Jnana Swarupaha Tvam, Vijnana Swarupaha Tvam, Pragyana Swarupaha Tvam. All are Chit, Chaitanyam, Jnanam, Vijnanam, Pragyanam, all are synonyms. Don't get confused. They are not different things. They all mean the same in this context. Pure consciousness. Now, obviously, the question is, what is this consciousness we are talking about? What is this Chaitanya? And we saw that consciousness is not part of this body, not a product of this body, not even a property of this body. Consciousness is an independent entity which pervades and enlivens this body. This consciousness which pervades and illumines this body is not limited by the boundaries of this body. It is beyond the boundaries of this body. This consciousness, which is beyond the boundaries of this body, continues to survive, continues to exist, even after this body collapses. So these are the four main points we saw. We should remember. What is this consciousness we are talking about? And we saw the example of light falling on our hand to assimilate these 4 points. If you want, you can revisit those talks if you want to revise that. But that's a very good example which Swami Paramatmananda gives. Therefore, the real nature of our self, our Atma, is this consciousness and not the body, mind, sense complex. Then Krishna talks about 6 main features of this Atma. What is this Atma? So 11 to 25, he talks about 6 main features. First feature is Atma is Nitya, eternal. Other than the Atma, the Chaitanyam, nothing else is eternal. Everything else is subject to birth and death. This is the first point. Then Atma is Satya, which means it is a reality which exists independently, whereas everything else is dependent on the Atma. We also saw the sloka. Na sato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubhayorapi drishtontaha. I'm just forgetting one. Doesn't matter. Anyhow, this sloka you can, Nasato Vidyate Bhava, very, very important sloka that establishes the Atma is Satya, the independent existence of Atma. Then third point is Atma is Sarvagata. Consciousness is all pervading. But it cannot be directly contacted. It is contactable only through a medium. And outside the medium, it is not visible. Again, the light example, light falling on the hand. Light as such is not visible at all unless it falls on some object. So existence of light, we realize only through the lightening up of the objects around us. That's what we call the reflecting medium. Light has to fall on a reflecting medium. So when it falls on a reflecting medium, we say the light is vyaktam. Beyond the reflecting medium, it is avyaktam. Avyaktam does not mean that it does not exist. It means that it exists, but it cannot be seen. It cannot be experienced. Similarly, Chaitanyam is vyaktam in the body, But outside, it is not Vyaktam. This is how we have to understand the third feature, Atma Sarvagataha. Then the fourth feature is Atma Aprameyaha. Atma is not an object, but the very subject. It is ever the experiencer and not the experienced. All objects which we experience in life are anatma. Atma is ever the seer and never the seen. This is the fourth feature. Fifth feature that Krishna gives is Atma is akarta abhokta. Both we have included together, which means it never does any action. Therefore, it does not reap the result of the action. All actions which we say, I am doing. When I say I do an action, I am referring to my body, mind, sense complex and not to my real self. Akarta means no connection with karma. Abhokta means no connection with the karma phalam. So it is neither a doer nor an enjoyer. Then the sixth feature is Atma is nirvikaraha. Nirvikaraha means it does not undergo any change. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah. Very important concept, very important feature. Krishna himself wants to underline the importance of this. And that's why he changes the meter of the sloka. Nirvikara means free from all six modifications. Shadvikara. Asti, jayate, vardate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyati. Potential existence. Jayate birth, vardate growth, viparinamate change, apakshiyate decay, and vinashyati death. So Atma is Shad Vihara Rahitaha. And Krishna wants Arjuna to recognize this Atma, and more importantly, he wants Arjuna to learn to claim this Atma as his real self. He should learn to look upon his body and mind as incidental instruments, which is a temporary gift from the Lord. The instruments will go away and be replaced by other instruments. Every day during night, they are temporarily lost. Later, the body will be taken away also permanently. Once I know that I am not the body and that they are only instruments, then I do not have a abhimana. And therefore, the mortality of the body, old age of the body, etc., will not torment me. And this is the Jnana Yoga portion. Knowing the Atma and claiming the Atma as myself. And Krishna presents this Jnana Yoga as a permanent remedy for all problems. And this is the second topic. Excuse me. The third topic is Karma Yoga. That was, we saw from verse 39 to 53. So even though we have talked as that Jnana Yoga is a permanent solution, there is a problem. The topic of Jnana Yoga is a very subtle topic. It is not easy for everyone to comprehend. Krishna himself says that, isn't it? Acharyavat pashyati kaschidenam Acharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyah Acharyavat chainamanya shrunoti Shrutva pyeyam vedana chaiva kaschit. Even after studying for 25 years, one can be very successfully be ignorant of what Atma is. It's a very subtle topic. To comprehend that topic requires a pure mind, a very subtle mind. Therefore, Krishna says, if you find Jnana Yoga to be too dry and too difficult for grasping, keep it aside and start making your mind fit for grasping this subtle topic. Krishna is very compassionate. He knows about us. He says, okay, I understand all this Atma business and all. You may find it difficult to understand. So first you look at the Karma Yoga part. Make your mind fit enough to receive, mind and intellect fit enough to receive this knowledge. For Jnana Praptihi, first work for Jnana Yogyata Praptihi. So how to get this Jnana Yogyata? Krishna briefly talks about Karma Yoga. What is the essence of Karma Yoga? And we saw also briefly. Krishna will elaborate all these things, third chapter onwards. But in this chapter, briefly, he describes. So we defined Karma Yoga as proper action plus proper attitude is equal to Karma Yoga. Now, what is proper action? Later, Krishna will divide this action also into three. Best action, mediocre action, the worst action. Uttama, Madhyama and Adhama. And they are also called Sattvika Karma, Rajasa Karma and Tamasa Karma. Sattvika Karma, best action, is the most appropriate for Karma Yoga. What is Sattvika Karma? An action in which beneficiaries are more in number. I alone am not the sole beneficiary. Beneficiaries are numerous, in which I am also included. This is called Nishkama Karma in the Shastra. From being self-centered, I expand the mind first to take into account the entire family, then take into account the entire village, then the entire society, then the entire nation, and the entire world, including all flora and fauna, environment in short. That is called Karma Yoga. Therefore, Sattvic action is selfless action, and this is Uttama Karma, the best type of action. Rajasic action is selfish action. Selfish means what? I do not bother about society or the world. I have to take care of myself and my immediate surrounding, my family, etc. My philosophy is that everybody suffers the consequences of their own past action, which has been given by God as karma phala. Therefore, we should not interfere in God's work. If somebody is starving, it is his karma phala, so I should not feed him. God will take care. It is their fate. Therefore, fatalism is very handy for a selfish person. Selfish action is rajasic, it is madhyama karma. But one thing, a selfish person may do everything for himself, but he does not harm others. He just wants to enjoy everything for himself without sharing it with anybody or without helping anybody. And the worst action is what? An action in which I benefit at the cost of other people, harming other people, I get the benefits. This is called tamasic karma. So a karma yogi gives top preference to sattvic karma. Next one is rajasa karma, and totally tamasa karma. This is what is meant by proper action. And then the proper attitude also is equally important. What is proper attitude? Whatever action I do it with love and sincerity. I enjoy what I do. Otherwise, it is an insult to that action. It is an insult to the Lord Krishna. It is an insult. Lord Krishna will tell in the 18th chapter actually. Learn to enjoy what you do. We will talk about Swadharma. In fact, Swami Paramatmananda recalled, some words of somebody, nice words. If you do not get the action that you love, learn to love any action that you have to do. That's the attitude you have to develop, proper attitude. Therefore, love the action. Even the most menial action we can learn to do. And once I love, there is sincerity, there is wholeheartedness, there is as much perfection as possible, without bothering about whether it will be acknowledged, whether it will be rewarded or not. The focus should be on doing the action and doing it properly. And there is a way, there is a trick to do this. And what is that? When I do the action as an offering to the Lord, I put my heart into the action. We want to give everything to the Lord which is only pure. With our full love and affection, we offer to the Lord. And the moment we think that this I am making an offering to the Lord, automatically all the sincerity, the love and affection we will put into that action. This is the attitude I should develop in respect of any action I do, however mechanical or however secular it may be. And this is the attitude of Ishvara Arpanam. I might have done an action with a proper attitude, expecting some specific results, but the result of my action is not under my control, that we have seen. Therefore, I need to develop another attitude, and that is receiving whatever results I receive for my action as prasada from Ishvara. Therefore, what is proper attitude? Doing action as an offering to the Lord and receiving the result as prasada, as gift of the Lord. These two put together is Karma Yoga. More details of this we will see in the 3rd chapter. And we must remember that Karma Yoga will not directly give us moksha. Practicing Karma Yoga continuously for a period of time will give Chitta Shuddhi. Two things to remember, should be practiced continuously and for a period of time. Not that today you do something and the Chitta Shuddhi will come. No. It all depends upon how much Ashuddhi is there in your Chitta for the Chitta Shuddhi to manifest to a very fair degree where Jnanam can sit in that Chitta. This means what? In Tattva Bodha, we will gain more and more sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, which will make our intellect fit for receiving the knowledge of the self. So Karma Yoga will give us Jnana Yogyata and make us fit for Jnana Yoga. Yada te moha kalinam buddhi vyatita rishyati tada gantasi nirbedam srotavyasya srutasya cha, says Krishna, the 52nd sloka. So this is the 3rd topic of Karma Yoga from verse 39 to 53. Now 54 to 72, we get the 4th topic, which is also a very important topic. That is the Sthira Prajna or Sthita Prajna. Both are same. Sthira Prajna, Sthita Prajna mean the same. Who is the Sthira Prajna? A person who has successfully gone through Karma Yoga and then Jnana Yoga, one who has clearly gained self-knowledge that I am the Atma, I am not the body, mind, sense complex. Not only has got this knowledge, he assimilated this knowledge also, and he has converted the intellectual knowledge into emotional strength. Because without emotional strength, you cannot face the crisis of life. Therefore, knowledge must be converted into emotional strength. First become prajna, then you become sthira prajna. Prajna means intellectual knowledge he has. Sthira prajna means not only he has intellectual knowledge, but also the emotional strength to face life. And in this Sthira Prajna portion, we have got two subdivisions. One is how to become Sthira Prajna, that is one topic. That is after learning Vedanta, after going to Shravanam Mananam, how to convert that knowledge into emotional strength. For that, all sadhakas will have to initiate and work independently. Guru can only convert a person into prajna through Shravanam and Mananam. Guru can convert an ajna into prajna, but Guru cannot do anything to convert prajna into sthira prajna. That effort Shishya has to work on his own. Otherwise, what will happen? You have become prajna, the knowledge will remain in one corner, and the life's problems, the love, hate, anger, greed, etc., kama, krodha, lobha, mada, matsarya, they will continue, and they will continue to make life more and more miserable. And not only that, people around you will taunt you also. Oh, so many years you attended all this Gita, Pravachanam, Vedanta and all. What is the use? Nothing has changed in you. You are the same person. Beware of your spouses in this, very careful. They will say all these are useless teachings. Enjoy life. Therefore, the effort has to be Shishyas. And we saw two topics, Sthira Prajna Sadhanani and Sthira Prajna Lakshanani in some detail. Under Sthira Prajna Sadhanani, Krishna prescribes three exercises or three disciplines: Indriya Nigraha, sense mastery. In fact, this should have been gained even before one comes to Vedanta or Gita, and it's a part of Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti. But if the sadhana has not been done already, Krishna says, better you concentrate on that first and foremost. And this discipline is very important because if it is not there, if we do not have mastery over our sense organs, what will happen? All rubbish thoughts and rubbish things that we see, we hear, and all the experience, all rubbish ideas, they have potential to enter through our sense organs and disturb our mind. And a disturbed mind cannot assimilate Vedanta. Therefore, Indriya Nigraha is of utmost importance. And by Nigraha, we do not mean suppression. Suppression is Hari Om. Can you all hear me? Somebody can unmute and confirm. What's happening? Hello. Namaskaram. Can I be heard? Can you hear me? Namaste.
It's
Can
already
anyone?
7 o'clock also.
Zoom has
Yeah.
become unstable. We
Yeah.
will complete the rest in the next class.
Yeah.
Then go
he-
on to the third chapter. Hari Om has said.
Yeah, he has sent a message. So we leave.
So
Thank
we'll
you.
leave.
There,
I'll-
now I can
Hari
see him.
Om.
He is there online. Now
Yeah,
he is
Yeah, now
online.
he's there.
Can
Yeah.
you hear me now?
But it's 7, I guess. So he
Yeah.
want to wind up.
So we'll close.
Okay.
Okay, I'll say the prayers. Om
All right.
Purnamada Purnamidam
We leave. Good
Purnat
night.